Hello, world. My name is Scott, or as I affectionately call myself, the bitter old queen. Okay? I am not a therapist or a political scientist. My comments, stories, and suggestions are anecdotal only. Okay? This video, I'm going to start off by talking about the title, uh, what I'm going to call the Trump Reich. Okay? A Reich is German for realm, empire, or kingdom. And that is exactly what I think our government thinks that they have here. Okay. And just for, clarity, we might as well just call it a Reich. Why not? I think I'm going to start calling that all the time. And I think the media should be, maybe they should call it that all the time too. Maybe they should call, it the Israel Reich and the Russian Reich. Maybe they should call it the Saudi Reich, you know? Or even the Iranian Reich. There are a lot of Reichs and there are a lot of wannabe Reichers out there, I guess you could say. So, anyway, I thought the days of empire building were over, but I guess they're not. So, anyway, after Trump's recent ramblings the other night on TV about elections, more and more people keep talking about the 25th Amendment for him, which is, that's great. So, but just realize every accusation is a confession. If you don't realize that by now, you're not paying attention. So, but pretty much anytime a Republican opens their mouth, including Trump, all they're doing is spewing lies. You can almost bet money on that. Okay? Um, I just wanted to comment on the reflecting pool distraction that he set up here. And not anything about that, but Janine Pirro. Okay? When you see her on TV, okay, there's an old saying that says you can't turn a pickle back into a cucumber. And as far as I'm concerned, she's getting very close to being pickled. If I were her family, I might step in. Anyway, um, I hope she gets help. Okay. The worst part, though, she thinks like an alcoholic. And the whole administration thinks the same way, or at least they're like a dry drunk, as they say. So, the thing is about too, people become addicted to this drama. And I think in a way our country is addicted to this drama and it's time to end. So the worst part too is they've weaponized stupidity. Okay. I'm going to start calling this the short bus rebellion. Okay. Because these people, oh my God. My partner and I recently, over supper, we watched a video and it was these Trumpers at rallies and they are so proud of their stupidity. And this, it's almost like baby talk out of some of them. You want to give them a timeout. When I was a kid, there was a show called Romper Room, and it reminds me of Romper Room. There is something wrong with these people. So, but anyway, there's a guy in here called Political Punk, and he has a channel on here, and makes me laugh when he talks about this stuff. There's not a lot to laugh about. It's hard for me to laugh anymore some days about certain things, and I don't even want to watch a comedy or anything, which is really bad. So, but anyway, in other news too, I think the Bar Association needs to start disbarring lawyers right and left, including the Supreme Court. Okay, especially after some of the things we've seen in the testimonies in Congress lately. Okay, and we need to make lying to Congress or avoiding these questions and not answering things directly, which is the same as lying. We need to make this illegal, and we need to put some real fines in it, and we need to have removal from office. They're wasting time and they're wasting resources. Enough. Enough of this crap. Okay? Another observation I've made. Okay? And bear with me on this one. Okay? This is about the punditry. When you see these Republicans, they'll go on these shows, and to me, what I think this is for a lot of them is like, how about Scott Jennings? This is a humiliation kink. They're getting on there and they are getting off on saying some of the most heinous things that they know that in polite society that these things are not acceptable. Okay? Um, but being wrong feels so right to them. Okay? Because then what it does is it riles the other side up and then they get the attention that they're seeking. And the whole thing is really sick if you think about it, okay? The worst part about this humiliation kink, is that our side, the Democrats and our decent people, we're allowing ourselves to be abused by these sickos, okay? And I and also used as a political tool. You know, they make clips out of this stuff, okay? And it riles them up. So you're just adding to the fodder. And I think we need to stop with this back and forth stuff. There's right and there's wrong. They're not interested in right. They don't care about facts. They don't care about any of that stuff. So just forget about it. Okay? This has been a decade of this nonsense, of this post-truth and all this crap. Okay? They're not changing. Don't waste your time. This is stupid. By arguing with these idiots, you're the stupid one. Okay? Right now, Trump also, he's trying to steal the midterms. And Mr. President, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. Okay? Because you know what I'm really afraid of? And I really am. And I don't want this to happen. I'm afraid people are going to start burning things down. When you have no stake in the game and you know you never will, that you'll always just be basically one rung above a slave for the rest of your life, no. People are going to start burning things down. And I'm afraid for it. I really am. So, when it comes to this last election, too, okay, the day I knew it was stolen, allegedly, okay, is the day I saw Elon Musk jumping up and down on stage with Trump and had just given him $250 million. I knew the fix was in. He would never put $250 million, you know, and he probably worked out a deal to go in and do his Doge thing and all this other stuff and steal all of our data and as much money as he could and get all these contracts. So enough already, okay? Just realize this too, okay? 75 million people voted for Harris, okay? 77 million people voted for Trump. 90 million people stayed home and didn't vote. Those are the ones we need to reach. The 77 million people who voted for Trump, they're lost. Forget about them. They're too stupid. They're not worth your time or your trouble. Okay? They, I would go no contact, but that's me. Okay, so another news too. There is something that no one is talking about. And I don't get this, and I don't understand if people are just lulled into this. Why? I don't get it, but it's oil. Oil, what's happening? Oil infrastructure all over the Middle East and Russia is being bombed to smithereens. Okay? All the ports and refineries and pipelines and tanks and tankers. Okay? So far, I don't know about oil wells being bombed, but do you realize how much oil production is going offline here? And now they're not even going to have the tankers to move it around or anything. They've done hundreds of tankers. Okay. And we all need to be concerned. You know, if you eat food or buy anything, you should be concerned. You should be very worried right now. Okay. This is what we should have done a long time ago. We should have nationalized our oil supply. We produce enough oil for our own needs, believe it or not. Okay. But we can't refine it or refine most of it. Okay. That's why we have this crazy oil market all over the world. If we would have developed our refineries on our own and done like Norway and nationalized it, we would be what we would probably the best thing we could be doing is electric cars and solar panels and saving our oil and selling it on the world market. And we could be like Norway right now, putting money in the bank for every citizen. But no, we let the billionaires take over and take the money, our money. So anyway, I am very concerned about the oil stuff, and I don't understand why nobody is, and why it's not even hardly talked about on TV. But because just wait, things are going to get very expensive, and in a short amount of time. Give it a few more weeks, it's going to be bad. Worldwide, too, there is a military-industrial complex now. Worldwide, okay? There are 66 countries now that manufacture major conventional weapons, you know, missile launchers, and big guns, and things like that. So we are at a new age of war. Okay. Are you seeing the cycle here, anybody? Okay. They pit us against each other, then they sell everybody bombs, then there's a war, and then lather, rinse, repeat. Buy more bombs. Anyway. And who's getting rich off this? The rich people. And everybody else is suffering. Okay. War and fighting, again, has become a lifestyle. People become addicted to the drama, you know? And these are people, when you become rich from it, you become addicted to that. So, and also, drones are changing everything in our military. Okay, we are light years behind. Okay, our military right now, these idiots in there, they think masculinity is going to win in the end, not smarts. Okay, duh. Anyway, and other news, too. We should be building solar panels and batteries and electric vehicles, not bombs. That's what we should be doing with our money. Okay, I will always be disappointed because that we didn't realize this, literally decades ago and put all kinds of money into it and try and develop it. It was such a lost opportunity. Okay. But the billionaires in the fossil fuels, they were the ones in control, and they sold everybody a line of crap for all these years. And I hope people are finally starting to wake up. Okay. I'm going to say, when I was back in college, okay, I'm going to go back to 1987, and I took an energy policy studies class, 101, and because I was fascinated by this kind of stuff, and it was a really good class. Okay, I would have gone into that as a profession, but when I looked at the course material to major in that and get a master's and everything, it was way beyond me. It was in chemistry and physics and all this stuff. The people that have energy policy studies degrees, I'm telling you, they are smart cookies. There's no way I could ever have done it. So anyway, back then in the 80s, they called it the greenhouse effect. And then they started calling it global warming. Now they're calling it climate change. Okay. Back then, solar was in its infancy. Okay. And when it came to wind, it was pretty, wasn't a lot of wind out there yet, but there were maps there where they thought the wind resources were, and, it weren't, I'm from Iowa, and they said, Iowa, oh, there's no wind there, right? So I said to my professor, I asked him about it. I said, I don't know, I'm from there. And, out in Iowa, the wind, it just blows and blows and blows and blows and blows, and oh no, nothing there. I said, okay, whatever. Well, fast forward to today, Iowa has over 6,500 wind turbines. It's, I think, the second most wind producing state in the country after Texas. Okay. And also, these big wind turbines, these are just a bridge to eventually everything will be solar. You won't want all these working parts and everything when you can just throw a panel on a roof, put a panel in the sun that'll last for 20 years and forget about it. Okay? You won't want these windmills will be done for. So, but think about this: for every solar panel that is put into operation every day, there's another lump of coal per hour and less gas that needs to be burned, to haul someone's lazy behind around in their 3,000 pound car to go down to the grocery store to get a tomato. Okay? We are the most spoiled people ever. So, anyway, solar panels right now are being deployed all over the rest of the world. China, I saw that they had something like a 34% increase in solar panel exports just in June of this year. Okay, so and other countries they're looking at it as a national security strategy. Here, they just no, they're in the pockets of the fossil fuel industry. They don't see this as any benefit to the country at all. Duh. So, but the future is going to be solar and batteries in homes. Even if you don't have solar, they're going to have batteries in your home. You're going to want a battery, and that's going to be the thing. They're going to charge your batteries at night. The whole thing is to keep the grid level. You don't want these big spikes. You want a nice level grid. So when power usage goes down, that's when they charge batteries, and that's the future of power. There's also this thing called balcony solar. That's a whole other thing. I'd love to do a deep dive into that someday. Um, anyway, we should be saving the oil we have for medicine. All the we do make medications out of it, but we also all the plastic tubing and syringes and all kinds of things in medicine. That's why I don't understand. We're not trying to save some oil or the best oil or something. So, and stop fouling our atmosphere, with fossil fuels, especially for cars, for transportation. And you know what's funny too? I'm a big Google Earth fan, but the first place to get solar panels in any town, anywhere, are on gas stations. Okay? They put them on the awnings above the pumps and on the roof of the thing, and it probably doesn't even cover the cost of the station's electricity, but it defrays it by quite a lot. And they wouldn't put it up there if it didn't pay off. So. Anyway, you should see if you Google Earth fans, look at Southern California and right in the middle in the desert, and you will see. And if you do the time thing and you go back in time, you will see that 2012 they were all hay fields that being irrigated, and now the closer you get to the border, there's solar fields and fields of solar panels there. Okay, part of the reason the Salton Sea is shrinking is because there's no runoff from these fields now. They're all solar panels. So anyway, the world is warming and nobody wants to admit it. Ask insurance companies. They'll tell you. Ask insurance companies. Is climate change real? They'll tell you it is. Okay. Finally, there's another video here in the description from Kyle Kolinsky from Secular Talk. Okay, and I'm a big fan of his. But in the video he discusses the metrics that have come out lately about between red states and blue states, and it is pathetic. I actually feel sorry for people who live in red states that you have been convinced that you don't deserve to live longer and have better health care. It's just sad that you kept electing these politicians who kept convincing you of that over and over that you didn't deserve any of this stuff. While New York, where I live, considered the number one state to live in, okay? As far as quality of life and all kinds of areas, number one, okay? Okay. Before one more, I have one more thing to say, okay? And I'm going to keep saying this in all my videos near the end here, okay? We, the little people, we realize what we're fighting, okay? And we'd like everyone to help, to join in and help us, okay? We're fighting the GOP, the pedos and their protectors, the corporations, the corporate dems, the billionaires, AI, the fossil fuel industry, the Israel lobby, the military industrial complex, warmongers, a corrupt and racist Supreme Court, and anti-Christian crackpots. Okay, we're up against all of that. Okay, and the one thing it all has in common is narcissism. We all need to learn about narcissism and how to deal with it and how to take this on because this is what we're dealing with. So, like I say, I know I am insufferable, aren't I? Okay. But it is tough being a queen in a world of commoners. So, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please take a look at my other videos and podcasts and posts and playlists and all of that stuff. And finally, thank you for coming to court. You've been dismissed.